All right, campers, it's 5 a.m. Saturday morning, and I'm going to put a 5 pound chuck in the smoker for 10 hours. So there are several steps. And the reason I'm starting at 5, even though it's going to be 10 hours, I'm not going to eat that early, because you bring this hefty 5 pounder, you bring it out to sit at room temperature for 2 hours before you put it in the smoker. And what that does, instead of using a binder, normally I would cover the entire thing with mustard as a binder. But I want a real good bark on this, and I think that the binders, whether it's mustard or mayonnaise, I think the binders slow down the bark, if not completely stop the bark. So I'm not going to do it this time. I'm using some Weber dry rub, Kansas City rub. I'm not promoting it. Any rub actually will do. You can do the rub the night before, let it sit in the fridge all night long. But this chuck is so moist. Yeah. Look at that. It doesn't need a binder because it's going to pull all of this good stuff right in all by itself. Now, while I'm doing this, at this very moment, my smoker is preheating, and it's going to have a 1 hour preheat. But prior to the 1 hour, and that's just going to keep on going. Look how wet this thing is, and I've already coated it over and over again, and it's still absorbing the rub. So while I'm doing this, the smoker is going, and before the 1 hour warm up, it needs 20 minutes to roll smoke when it first fires up with the door open. And I'll go back out to the smoker and I'll show you what that's all about. So this is just the meat end of things. Chuck is, surprisingly enough, considering the price, chuck is pretty close to ribeye. When you put it in the smoker, and you end up with something really good. If I were going to cook this, smoke it for cutting, I would take it to about 200 degrees. I'm going to take it to 215, 220, because this is basically beef for pulling, eating with horseradish, which I really like. And so taking it up a little higher, a little longer. And here's my smoker. It's a big rascal. I can put 200 pounds of meat in this thing. What to tell you? There's a whole bunch of stuff to tell you. But anyway, when you first turn a smoker on and your pellets first fire up, they're going to release a blue smoke that's really nasty, and you do not want your meat to absorb that blue smoke. So when you first turn it on and it's coming up to temperature, keep the door completely open and let that smoke just flow out the door. No meat in the machine. Next, I like to preheat it for at least a half hour, but an hour. So right now, it's at temperature. It's achieved set point of 220 degrees. It's showing the probe at 106 because I just have the probe sitting on the top right now. It's not in the meat. The meat's not in there. And my hopper is full enough to go the 10 hours. So I have no problems there. People often ask the cap. You want to have right there, you want to have about 1/8 of an inch between the stack and the cap. That's the right amount to keep the smoke down inside the smoker and yet still let it get out. Now here's another trick. This is a big one. You can get this at your hardware store. It's a smoke tube. You can use it on your regular barbecue grill without a smoker. It takes regular wood chips, not pellets. And the thing about this is when you put meat in a smoker, the smoke ring is set pretty much within the first hour. And so you really want to get a lot of intense smoke in that first hour. And the smoker alone really doesn't quite do what I like it to do. So when I first put the meat on, I will fire this tube up, which burns for about 20 minutes. You light it, you make sure that it's got a good flame going, and then put it inside here, and that adds smoke to it. And now you got a really good smoke ring, plus you get to put different flavors in here. So you can use applewood or cherry or whatever you want. And again, that gives you more control over what the meat's going to taste like. So, a couple of tricks. I could show you the control on my telephone, but I'm using my telephone, so I can't show you the control. But anyway, it's a beautiful, beautiful Saturday for sitting around the pool and rolling some smoke. All right, it's time to launch, 7 o'clock. Now, 5 pounds should go 6 to 8 hours. But that's if you're going to wrap it during the stall. I'm not going to wrap it during the stall. I'm going to let it go cook all the way through the stall because I want a lot of bark on this thing. So it's 8 to 10 hours, and I'm figuring 10 hours because this is really very moist. So I have the probe, the meat probe, right there. Then I have an internal probe for the chamber temperature, and I'm going to look for 210, 215 on the probe. Right now it's 51 degrees on the probe. Chamber is 220. If I wanted, I could run another probe. And the good thing about using these built-in is that they report to my phone. I could be in Timbuktu and I'd still get the report. So the next thing to do is get these chips going. And I have 2 lighters because you have to hold the heat on so long that the lighter gets hot to the point that you can't even hold on to it anymore. It takes a while to get it's hardwood. It takes a while to get it going. And you want to get it going really good. My thumb's about to burn off. Good old Bic lighters. Can you believe we've been using these Bic lighters for like 50 years or something? It's amazing. Yeah, there's a rooster. Might be headed for this smoker someday. It's a broken rooster too, as you can tell from the sound of it. So this thing is doing a modest smoke. And again, that's why I use this guy, because once your smoker gets going, it doesn't make a lot of smoke. Keep the flame going. Get it well lit. Look how juicy that thing is. No binder needed. But if you don't use binder, if you're afraid of them, don't worry. Mustard and mayonnaise, you can put it on like a half-inch thick and you won't be able to taste it after it cooks off. Give this a minute and then we'll resume. All right, ready to do this. Look how much smoke this tube is giving off, and it's only the first inch or so that's cooking. So like I said, you can get these in the hardware store. They're made of stainless steel. You can get them on Amazon, then buy the chips from the hardware store. However you want to do it. Just put it in there and let it go. Now, I won't have to do anything again until about 4 or 5 hours in, and then I'll start doing the spritz with apple cider, and that'll be about it. Should be 10 hours to roll this smoke. And these are the chips I'm using in the smoke tube. You can get, this bag is good for years. It's not very big, but there's so many chips in it. You can get them at Walmart and Lowe's and Home Depot, your hardware store, everywhere. I don't know, they're not very much money at all. And they're great chips. It was perfect. I encourage you to buy one of those smoke tubes, even if you don't have a smoker, because using that smoke tube and one of these in your regular grill, and you'll get a smoke ring on your meat. So, you know, right there, it's pretty good. It's not as good as a real smoker, but it's going to give you better results than just the grill with no smoke. Now, because rolling smoke can go on for 24 hours easily, it's very beneficial to have an app, because you can have alarms, you can monitor your smoke, you can go out for dinner, you can whatever, and you can see what's going on. Let's get to some numbers. And it will connect by Bluetooth or for your home Wi-Fi, which means that you're then on the internet, you can go anywhere and you can still get the information. So you can see right now, my set point is 220 degrees. That's what we're keeping the cooking chamber at. I'm not using one of my sensors The other sensor is now at 90 degrees. That's the internal temperature of the meat right now. And the fan is on, the auger is not on, the igniter is not on. Those will sequence. When it needs more pellets, we get a little, there it is right now. So the auger is spinning for just usually a few seconds. Watch it go out. And the combustion should continue on its own with what's in there right now. But if not, the igniter will fire up. And that will regulate the temperature. Excuse me, but it holds the temperature quite well. So there's not an issue there. So now we need to talk a little bit about the stall. When you go to the gym and you sweat, the sweat cools you off because it evaporates. When you're smoking at about 160 degrees, about 160 degrees, this number is just not going to move. It's going to sit there for hours. So what a lot of people do, and the reason for that is you're pulling the moisture out of the inner part of the meat to the outer part of the meat, and now it's evaporating and it's keeping the meat at the same temperature. And if you're not used to the stall, it can get very frustrating. So what a lot of people do, this is how you change the temperature. What a lot of people do is when it hits the stall, they wrap the meat in parchment paper or sometimes tin foil. It's called a Texas crutch. And what that does is it stops the evaporation and the temperature will then start to go up. And it can save considerable amount of time. I've seen stalls go for 4 hours easily on a big brisket. However, you don't get as much bark, and I've never had a problem not wrapping and having the meat go dry. So, and I don't care about the time. It doesn't matter if it's going overnight or like today, it's going to go 10 hours or something like that. It doesn't matter. So I'm not going to wrap it. I don't like to fuss with the meat. Just let it go. It will stall. And it can be really frustrating as you're sitting there watching that temperature hour after hour and it's just not moving. Eventually, okay, then the last word was supposed to be climb, by the way. Temperature will climb. So, been on the smoke for about 3 hours now. And the meat temperature, as you can see, is 121 degrees. Now, it's time to start getting busy with a couple of things to do here. Oh, look at that, it's full of smoke. Who knew? All right, number one, spritz time. Apple cider. Get yourself a $1 squirt bottle, Walmart, wherever. And you're going to start doing this about every 45 minutes to an hour. And if you're going to go to work, or you just, you're going to go to bed, you're going to let it roll all night, whatever it is, and you can't spritz it, don't worry about it. It's going to survive. It's going to be fine. Just talking about some things that you do to make it optimal. Now, the next thing you want to do is put some fresh water in the evaporator tray. Always keep the evaporator tray full of water, if at all possible. There's plenty in there, it's almost full. And I don't have to worry because this is Arizona, so that is going to evaporate like in no time at all. Get it latched back up. And what will happen now, because it was open like that, the internal temperature came down and it's going to bring it back up. So now the auger is going to aug and it's going to produce some more smoke. But by now the smoke ring is really pretty well set. Now we're basically just cooking and making bark. The apple cider will give it better bark. It's got to do with the pH of apple cider, not apple juice. Apple cider has a specific pH that meat reacts well to. And so well, that pool is looking like it really needs my body in it pretty darn soon, doesn't it? Anyway, let's see what happens in another hour. All right, let's do an update. It hit the stall at exactly 150 over an hour ago, and it's 152 now. I expect it's going to stay there for about another hour. It'll get up to maybe 154, and then suddenly it'll start climbing pretty fast to about 180, 185, and then we'll get where we're going. So while I'm on the topic of the water, the moisture going from the core to the outer, you need to know about when this is all done. When you take this out, you take an ice chest, no ice, you take an ice chest, you line it with old towels, take the meat out, wrap it in foil, wrap it good in foil so you're not leaking over the towels. Put it on the towels in the ice chest, cover it with the towels so you're swaddling it, and leave it in the ice chest for an hour. The temperature is going to go up by 5 degrees approximately, depends on the size of the meat. So if you pull it at 190, you're going to end up with 195. What you're doing, so right now for hours and hours and hours, we're pulling, hello tree, might as well show some sky and everything. We're pulling the moisture from the core to the outer part of the meat. And that is not the best way you want it when you're cutting it up. So what we want to do, I still got green on that. What you want to do is you swaddle it like I'm talking about, and that gives it time for that moisture that's all in the outer portion of the meat to go back inside and get equally distributed. So then the whole thing is going to be uniformly moist. So you want to do that, and you want to remember when that happens, because the heat is in the water. When that happens, your temperature is going to go up by about 5 degrees. So figure an extra hour when you're done. It's going to be hot and ready to serve. Believe me, when you put it in that ice chest, it's not going to cool off. It's just going to stop pulling the moisture to the outside. So plan on another hour. And there it is. There's the finished product. Dum, dum, dum. Good dark smoke ring. Thick, too. Well, not quite a ½ inch, but that's about as maximum smoke penetration as you can ever expect to get. So that's a good smoke ring.